York's classic rock, Q1043.
This morning, best known for the Scream franchise, David Arquette, who is with us this morning to discuss a documentary that I cannot erase from my brain. It's called You Cannot Kill David Arquette. You can start streaming it August 28th, this coming Friday. And let me tell you a little bit about it. It basically deals with David Arquette's obsession to become a wrestler. Now, he became the world champ of the WCW for 12 days, but that was a stunt 20 years ago to promote a movie. And then he became obsessed with wrestling. And there are things in this movie, like I said, your mouth will hang open. He risked his whole career, his acting career, in his obsession to become a wrestler. So to use the words of Jay Leno, when he got Hugh Grant on The Tonight Show after Hugh Grant was caught with a prostitute, what on earth were you thinking?
Oh, gosh. Oh, man.
Welcome.
Thank you, Shelley. I used to own the booking chair, the actual chair that his picture was taken in for that mugshot. And I saw him at a Golden Globes event, and I said, listen, I own the chair that you got your mugshot in. If you want it, I thought it'd be funny. Like, you know, it's funny because you could take pictures, of a mugshot without any of the bad parts. But he was not happy that I had even brought it up or even mentioned that I had this chair he could have. So now it lives at the Haunted Museum in Las Vegas, Nevada. So just, sorry, I went on a tangent there, but that was my Hugh Grant story. As far as what I was thinking, I wasn't thinking too much. I was just sort of so tired of getting beat down, so tired of getting bullied, that I wanted to prove myself and get out there and learn how to wrestle properly. I wanted to make a love letter to wrestling, to get people to figure out what wrestling is, kind of have more of an insight of what it is. And then I wanted to, hopefully help people like RJ City or Jack Perry or Peter Avalon or Bulletproof Brian Pillman to get some eyes on them, for them to be able to eventually maybe sign some of these posters and become part of something that they're a part of, that they could potentially make money off of.
So it really started with bullying.
Oh, for sure.
But you're an actor. How did that get inside your head?
Oh, you'll be amazed by how painful certain reviews are sometimes, how painful some of the back and forth online on Twitter or Instagram, some of the, stories that are written that aren't true at all, that it doesn't help that you can say they're not true. Certain people believe them just once they're printed. So there's a lot that goes on in the bullying department. As far as this went, it was something that I could rectify. It's something that I could address. It's something that I could take on the challenge. But what I learned ultimately is that it wasn't about any of that. It wasn't about them bullying or anything. It's about a self-love that you have to discover, and a self-love of how you treat yourself, how you engage in your life, how you want to be perceived, how you want to how do you want to be involved in this world? Like, what do you want your dynamic to be with the world? It was like recently I was talking to my son, who we were having some trouble with. Just, if you're mean to the world's going to be mean back to you. So if you're kind and loving to the world will be kind and loving back. That's not always true, but it helps in how you're going to engage with the world.
Again, there are things that I watched in this movie, You Cannot Kill David Arquette, a documentary which you can begin streaming on Friday. My mouth fell open. You almost died in a wrestling match. You almost died, and you're watching this on screen. I mean, my mouth fell open. So I want you to tell the listeners, because I wasn't aware that this happened, explain what happened.
So I did something called a death match, which in wrestling is one of the more hardcore type of matches where you can use tables and chairs and light tubes and barbed wire and pizza cutters, and just it's a real sort of evolution of backyard wrestling into like a new wrestling form. A lot of professional wrestlers frown on it as garbage wrestling, but a lot of the like hardcore fans really enjoy it. It's the type of wrestling they like. And so I wanted to honor them by sort of stepping into their world and improving myself to them as well. It just, I was in over my head. I didn't really know how dangerous it could be. I did something that I learned a lot from in the match. I learned that no matter, even if stuff's kind of going wrong in a wrestling match, you should always try to stick to the plan, because wrestling is choreographed, although it's not fake at all. It's really something that's choreographed, but then you have to be really skilled and work with real professionals to pull it off. Not to say Nick Gage wasn't a real professional, because he's a tremendous wrestler. He really is. It was just something happened where I pulled his legs when I wasn't supposed to, and I got cut in the neck.
By?
So there was a light tube that he was holding that when I pulled his legs, it came down. But that all wasn't planned. It wasn't, but I did think I was dying, and there was a really scary moment there.
So if you had taken your hand off your neck, you would have bled out?
No, it didn't hit.
It wasn't
my
that bad?
jugular. As soon as I got out of the ring, I heard Luke Perry's voice. He said, "Davey, it's Luke," because he was there watching his son, Jack Perry, who wrestles under the name Jungle Boy. He was performing. So he said, "Davey, it's Luke." And I said, "Luke, is it pumping?" And I took my hand off, and he said, "It's not pumping." So what happened was the light tube hit my neck muscle, and I had to get 5 stitches in my neck muscle and several other stitches on the outside of it. But luckily it didn't hit my jugular. If it would have, I would have been gone. I was pretty worried that I was.
Well, that was another moment that just took me back in your documentary, that the late Luke Perry was with you that night when you thought you were dying. And that was how much before we lost him?
This was just like a month or 2 before.
Wow. So that was really heavy. But then there was another moment. I cannot believe you agreed to include this in the film. You're with a doctor who's talking about your mental health, and he's saying there's something physically wrong in your brain, and that this is the reason why perhaps you are having mental health issues.
Yeah. I mean, I think good art comes from being really vulnerable, really open and honest. So I didn't want to sugarcoat anything. Yeah, their mental health is a big aspect of sort of my life, and a lot of people can, in reality, I mean, the number of teens now suffering from depression and anxiety is just skyrocketing. I think a lot of people deal with stuff like that. I think a lot of people deal with all kinds of different conditions. If they just beat themselves up like I tended to do, really in a destructive way, or if they just dealing with depression and can't get out of this super painful dark place. I understand it. So it's sort of for them to let them know that I'm not alone, that you're not alone, that they're not alone, that we're all in this together. So I'm not really concerned about people's impression of me. I think that's why somebody might hold back. But I really, have always been a pretty open book and like it when people are honest and vulnerable in their feelings. I like people to share with me if they're feeling something, that we can get past it rather than bottle it up and then have it blow up later.
That makes me think of a poll I was just talking about on air this week. There was this Harris poll of teenagers, and 81% of teenagers admitted that they are concerned about their mental health. So the fact that you're talking about this, the fact that you open up, it allows others to feel this is okay to talk about. I mean, if you have cancer, you're not ashamed to say, I have cancer. But if you have a mental health issue, it's just not viewed the same way. So it's so importantly healthy for someone like you to come forward and admit that you're dealing with this yourself.
I want people to heal. I mean, aside from just mental health, there's trauma throughout this whole world right now, especially what we're all going through at this moment. Like, everybody is experiencing trauma. Everyone is experiencing shock. So this is like a time period where we're all going to have to heal from it and treat ourselves kindly and, do practices that help our bodies and our minds and our souls just feel lighter. So that's sort of a lot of what I've been talking about when I'm talking to people, is just, to get to that place where you figure out where your personal trauma's from and how it gets triggered and how you can move past it, how you can learn healthy ways to engage in life where, it's not adding to it or reacting from it.
I'm speaking with David Arquette about his documentary, You Cannot Kill David Arquette, which you can start streaming this coming Friday. What are your hopes for this movie?
Ultimately, I did it just as a love letter to wrestling. And so I hope it will let people into the world of wrestling, help people, hopefully people will be let into my world a little. I mean, this is just a glimpse into my world. It's really a lot more complicated and different than what you see. I mean, it's just a certain part of it. But I really just want people to be entertained. It's what we do for our business, is provide entertainment. We want to provide people with a place that they can escape and hopefully learn something or feel something after the hour and a half or whatever it is. As long as people, maybe get inspired or feel some sort of connection, that's all I really want.
I know it's on hold now because of the pandemic, but the Scream franchise is coming back. The franchise you're best known for. So when did this all happen?
Yeah.
When did you get word of that?
It was during, like, right at the beginning of this whole time period. So it was right before the pandemic hit and everything went into shutdown. But they've since got Courtney Cox on board, which I'm really excited about working with her again.
Your ex-wife.
And hopefully we'll get Nev Campbell on board. That'll just make it so exciting just to bring this whole team back together.
Thank you so much, David Arquette. And you got to watch this documentary, You Cannot Kill David Arquette. You could start streaming it this coming Friday. I'm telling you. What on earth was he thinking? You're not going to get it out of your head. It is an absolute must-see doc. Watch it.
Thank you, Shelley.
New York's classic rock, Q1043.